the final complaint about relativism is more of a direct complaint against relativism, and that is that relativism commits a contradiction. One problem that comes up is sometimes people will say, well, I'm a relativist, or they claim to be a relativist. And the problem is I would say, okay, you're a relativist. Well, you're wrong. And everybody who is a relativist, if you tell them that, they'll say, no, I'm right, and they'll try to argue. Well, if you're trying to argue for relativism, you're trying to make relativism an absolute rule, right? You're trying to tell me why I'm wrong about relativism being wrong. And I'm saying, no. I believe in my culture, my society, we believe relativism is wrong. And so we, therefore, are right because our culture, society says relativism is wrong, right? The idea here is that relativism is trying to assert a moral principle, a universal moral principle, that there are no universal moral principles. And so that's a contradiction. The universal moral principle of relativism is there are no universal moral principles. So the only universal moral principle is that there are none, but yet, because it is one, it means that there isn't one. And so we have this whole problem, that if you assert that there are no universal moral principles as a universal moral principle, then we have a problem with the fact that that moral principle itself can't be true. And for somebody to come along and tell you that, well, that's their universal moral, that's their cultural premise, that there are no universal moral premises, that there are universal moral principles, that's their cultural premise, then they have to be right, just as it is my cultural premise that there are no universal moral premises. And so in the end, you can hold that, but it's really just you holding it, and you can't really argue with anybody who says you're wrong.